want to thank you for joining me on another another episode of Custom Builds, where we gain insight from other developers and understand their story, how they got into the games industry, while taking a look at some of their favorite builds. And so I want to kick things off by giving you the opportunity to introduce yourself and tell our viewers how you intersect with the games industry.
Yes, definitely. My name is Adanna N. I'm currently a game developer, games writer, and narrative designer. So I've been doing a lot of writing and narrative work in the indie space that has been pretty fun. The two biggest games I've worked on have been Spirit Swap and Kiss You, both which you can wishlist on Steam right now and play their demos. So feel free to check them out.
I love that. And you have to say that for me again, the three different roles that you occupy, because that's really special to be able to be doing, like essentially three different jobs.
Yes, I do game development. So it's like developing my own projects, and for other projects of my own, I've also done games writing and narrative design, with games writing being writing a lot of the in-game text, like item descriptions, character dialogue, things like that. Whereas narrative design is a lot of me figuring out how the story and the game intercept and what's the best way for the player to experience the story.
Excellently explained. That's really cool to be able to contribute games in all of those different paradigms. I wonder what inspired you to pursue a career in the games industry, and has it always related to narrative in some capacity?
So it's very interesting because I've been playing games ever since I was a kid. I was a hardcore Nintendo kid. My first game system was the Game Boy Advanced. Wow, that's like a retro console now. That's
Can you
crazy.
believe
But
that?
yeah, and I was like, went from Game Boy to the Nintendo to the Wii to the 3DS and now the Switch. And I also like hopped on the PlayStation train while you're there. I had to play all the Final Fantasies, so
Yes.
that's been pretty fun. And the interesting thing is that when I started working in games, I originally started doing games research in college because the project I worked on was looking how players in online games like Overwatch or Fortnite, for the skins and the in-game accessories they would buy, we were looking to see if they would buy them to look more like themselves in real life
Yeah.
instead of just for aesthetic purposes, especially because if you're a diverse person, it's like I don't see many Overwatch skins with braids. Are you willing to pay more money in order to get the in-game representation you want? So that was a really fun research project. What we learned was, after like over 150 survey responses, what we learned was is that a lot of players focus on aesthetic purposes. They don't
Mm.
really try to mimic themselves, what they look like in real life. But a majority of players also said that there needs to be more diverse representation options in games.
Yeah, yeah. I like that you bring that up. From a personal experience, yeah, I guess I find myself at that spot that where thinking of Overwatch, I did work those extra hours at getting the Genji Oni skin when it was popular, and I think you had to play Hearthstone in order to acquire it. But same, like if Baptiste came out with a skin that had some different locks or something like that, I would probably go for it too. So I'm curious, from your own relationship to games, what are some of the titles that have been most impactful to you or for you, and kind of like what draws you to some of the games that you play?
What draws me to some of the games? I always played a lot of games as a kid. I love the cartoony ones like
Yeah.
Kirby, Pokemon, Legend of Zelda, all the fun stuff. But I think one of the games that really like opened my eyes to how you can tell stories in games was Fire Emblem Awakening, because I remember it was the first game I played in a while where I was staying up late, burning my corneas on my 3DS screen because I was like, I have to know how this story ends. And since I was always interested in creative writing up to now, I didn't know that writing for games was a job. I didn't know that was a thing that people actually specialized need to be hired in. So
Yeah.
learning that and combining my love of creative writing and games has been really, really amazing experience.
What would you say was most helpful in making the connection that writing for games was something that existed? Because, for many individuals who have entered games, I often hear, and this is a part of my own experience, I often hear, I didn't know that this job existed. And then once I discovered it, I went full steam ahead to pursue it. Yeah, what led you to discovering that writing for games was available?
It's actually really interesting because it wasn't my games research that led me to it. It was during the summer of 2020 where a lot of game developers were reaching out to Black creators and saying that if you have any questions about joining the games industry, reach out to me on Twitter. So I ended up reaching out to like 200 plus people just to ask questions
Yeah,
like what it's actually like, and like realizing, oh, this is something I can do. I don't need like a specialized degree in this. This is something I just need to work at. And I think one of the benefits of playing games for so long is having like an understanding of game design and how it works, even if I couldn't put it into words, like
yeah.
understanding like how the player interacts with the game and how that interacts with how you like write a story and how different things are experienced. So that was
Yeah.
really, really good.
Wonderful. And I got to say, Twitter in that capacity, at least for our experience, that's how we connected. That's how I've met other really wonderful people on the platform, despite it being this very strange, large sinking ship. Who knows what's going to happen to it? But
Yeah,
um,
it's like the submarine right now.
it really is. Oh my gosh, the submarine. I it would be. I don't know how I would feel if it just immediately disappears. Right now it's been kind of a gradation, but we'll we'll save that for another time.
We'll see how long it goes, how long it
Yeah.
lasts.
um, when it comes to taking that inspiration and saying, I now realize there's a role for me in the industry, and now you're in a space where you're directly contributing to projects. You mentioned two already. How do you feel about being in this space and doing performing in a role that is exactly or what sounds like an exact alignment for you?
I really, really love it because as a kid, I like got used to knowing that there would never really be characters that looked like me or sounded like me in games. So now that I'm writing for games, like working with artists to design like Black characters, that's been really, really amazing to like see that, oh, there are a lot of Black game developers, no matter what like certain places say there are a lot of Black game developers. There is a space and there is an audience for this.
Mm.
So it's just working hard to like make it a reality.
Yeah, yeah. Are there any specific moments in some of the work that you've done already that have just brought you tons of joy, or just that really big success feeling?
When I got to work on Spirit Squad, that was a really, really big moment, especially like after seeing how well like the Kickstarter did, seeing characters that like looked like me, and it was like something that was really fun and just really like knew what it wanted to be, and it was like so authentic, and getting to like write and add to that and work with such an amazing team uh was like an amazing can't describe experience.
Yeah, yeah. And Spirit Stop was mentioned earlier. For those who have not had the chance to take a look at it, please consider pulling it up on Steam, wishlisting it. We always say, or if this is your first time hearing it, wishlisting a game is incredibly valuable to the developers who are working on it. So add it to your library. Maybe consider it. Um, I would love to know. It's fantastic to hear this journey has been so pleasant for you, and understanding how the discovery of narrative design has come about for you. Have there been any hurdles in landing in this profession, and or even like pressing forward?
A lot of hurdles, I think, have been like just not knowing what you don't know, because
Yeah,
narrative design was like, I didn't know it existed prior to 2020. So it's been a lot of like trial and error figuring out what works best for me, because I'm not the traditional narrative designer in a lot of ways.
yeah,
And another thing that I've been seeing, and I think you also probably had to work with Onsen Master, is trying to find resources to create Black characters in games, because I know there's the Black Hair Library, which is really helpful.
yeah,
But if you don't know a lot of Black artists, it's really hard to create a vision that you want to see. So trying to like do the extra work, looking for artists, writers, people that can talk accurately to the experiences
yeah,
has been a hurdle, but I've been connecting with more and more Black developers. So making
yeah.
progress.
That's amazing. Progress is good, and I imagine in a very short time you'll be able to look back on that and say like, "Wow, I've done a lot of stuff." I can't wait to be able to catch up again with you in the future and have a similar conversation. Um, when it comes to the industry as a whole, what is your outlook on the future of games or the future of the games industry, whether that deals with tech or AI or just gameplay?
I think the really neat thing about how games has like blown up over the course of the pandemic is that I feel like we're only like scratching the surface of
Hmm.
how you can tell a story within games, which really, really excites me. Like I know Hades was a really, really popular one, was like a roguelike, but it was also a very, very emotional story about family and how family
Yeah.
changes over time in our relationships to them. So I think we're just like now just scratching the surface of the different ways you can like tell a story in games. So I'm really excited to see where it all goes, especially in the indie space.
Yeah, well said. I too, I'm excited by the prospect of new storytelling, how it intersects with gameplay that we are both familiar and unfamiliar with, and just creating new outcomes for the modes in which we understand and interact with media. Because as technology changes too, it may or may not open new doors to paths of storytelling and experiential play. So thank you for sharing that. One of the things that is a component of the show, or sort of a new component of custom build, is getting to see a build that is special to you, to understand a little bit of behind the curtain, under the hood, whatever a metaphor somebody wants to apply. But I've asked you for this show to share with me a piece of content that has been special to you, and you've been so wonderful to bring over a piece of content from The Legend of Zelda. I'm gonna bring this over, and if you would care to walk us through what we're taking a look at.
Yes, this is my house in Tears of the Kingdom. I've been a Legend of Zelda fan since I was a kid, so getting a chance to play this. I actually went up to like the Nintendo store the day of launch to just go take pictures with the really big Link they had,
Yeah,
go see some good friends of mine. So it was a really, really great experience just talking with people in line, people who had been like fans of Zelda since the 90s, people who said, oh, this is my first Zelda game, but I've heard so many good things about it. I'm so excited to try it out. And just seeing how many ways people have like expressed themselves in the game, whether it's like building a house or a rocket
right.
or a catapult. It's just been a really amazing experience. And I've put in like 40 hours the first week I got this
Wow,
game,
yeah.
so it's been very, very fun.
Now, what was some of the was there any motivation or inspiration for this house, the layout of it? I see this piece of artwork that pulls up, which is beautiful. How did you go about like laying out this sort of structure?
So the main thing I did was consolidation because currently you can only really have like 15 rooms. So trying to get like
Okay.
everything you want to fit is a lot harder than say Animal Crossing where you can like add floors, add all this cool stuff.
Yeah.
So it was really fun to like make this little space and see like, oh, I can add a stable, I can add a photo. That's also really cool. And just like making this space in the game your own because
Yeah.
the world in Tears of the Kingdom is so big and so vast, and there's so many things to
Oh my
explore.
gosh.
But also, sometimes I just want to chill at my house, make
Right.
some food.
There's I have I'm embarrassed to say I've only committed an hour to Tears of the Kingdom because it's so huge, and I need the space and time to be able to commit to, as you've already shared, the vastness of this game. But I'm relieved to see that there's this basically container home component to crafting a dwelling for Link, and I'm really excited by you giving an inside look at some of the things that you care about, some of the things that are special for you, and wanting to share that with the people who are taking a look at this show. I want
That's
to I want to thank you. I want to thank you so much for taking the time to share your story and taking the time to give us insight as to who you are as a multifaceted individual within the games industry, but also what type of games you like to play and how you engage with them. And so, Adanna, thank you so much for being here. Before we wrap things up, where can people find you, and how can we keep up with some of the things that you're doing?
Yes, you can find me on Twitter at AFN Narratives 8. That's AFNARRITIVES 8, number 8 on Twitter. And you can also look that up to find my portfolio website, which has my contact email and all of my other socials. And I'm hoping to update that soon because if you're going to PAX West or DreamCon, you might see me speaking there. So a lot
Ooh,
of
yeah.
exciting things happening in the future.
Yeah, oh, that's cool. I wish I could join you. I'll be there in spirit. Both of those sound like incredible spaces this year. DreamCon, always wanting to go to that. Thank you again, and I really appreciate getting to hear your story. I look forward to the next opportunity that we get to connect and hopefully gain more updates and more builds from you. So thanks again.
Yes, definitely.
Take care.